September 11th, 2001, a day that changed the world forever. Hi, welcome to Around the Town with Marilyn Forbes. Today we stepped a little bit outside of our own community, and we're actually here in Lower Manhattan in New York City. We're at the site of Ground Zero. Behind me is the site that the World Trade Center towers actually once stood. As you can see, there's construction going on now. 3,000 people, almost 3,000 people, lost their lives that day at the three different crash sites here, Shanksville, and the Pentagon. And millions of people come here every year and visit this site to remember those citizens who lost their lives and to honor the first responders who also lost their lives in the line of duty that day. Although this site is usually for remembrance and reflection, today we're actually here on a mission. The Connellsville Patriots Club was awarded an artifact from this site, and we're here today to bring it back to Connellsville, so it will always be there for us to remember and pay tribute. But before we move on to Kennedy Airport to pick it up, we're going to take a step back and find out exactly what it took to get here and how this happened. Okay, I'm talking now with Linda Shearer. Everyone knows Linda. She was in a previous show of ours.
That was my privilege.
And how are you doing today?
Wonderful. Wind is kicking up, but the sun's shining, so we're okay.
Now, Linda's going to tell us today exactly how it all came to be that you got to make the trip to New York City. So tell me how you heard about this and take us from there.
Well, about a year and a half ago, my nephew came for dinner one Sunday and said to me, "Oh, I have to send you this email. I saw something about where you can apply for a piece of the World Trade Center." And I said, "What are you talking about? I think you're nuts." And I made big issue. And he said, no, you really need to look at this. And I said, "But Kenny, how could I ever get a piece of the World Trade Center back to Connellsville? I'm not made of money, What do you think I'm going to do? Where would I ever?" And he said, "Why don't you just sit down and listen for once?" And he said, "Do you realize if you would be chosen, what a privilege it would be to participate? There are people in Connellsville who would step up and volunteer a truck, a driver, and so on to get that piece of steel back home here." And the rest is sort of history. I decided, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I asked for permission from the superintendent, talked with the principal, went to the school board, was granted permission to do that, explained that in order to qualify for consideration, you had to be a 501c3, which the CAHS Patriots are. You had to agree to display the artifact publicly. And since they're planning a major renovation for the high school and the memorial we're standing in front of, the CAHS Patriots were responsible for renovating a few years ago, would only be fitting to include it in and continue to honor those who served, those who gave their all. So we wrote, didn't hear anything for a year, and I thought,
for a year?
Yes, for a year. And I thought, it's all over. We just weren't, they didn't have the nerve to tell me I was rejected. One afternoon, actually October the 7th, 8th period of the day, there was an email came through and it said, "Dear Mr. Shear, I'm reaching out, Dear Mr. Shear, I'm reaching out to you personally." And I thought, Mr. Shear, reaching out to you personally, I almost hit delete. Because I thought it was one of those, you have money in this foreign country, send $1,000 or $10,000 to get a million. I thought it was a hoax. Thank goodness I didn't, and I read the rest, and then it was like I squealed, and the kids in my class looked at me like, "What are you, nuts, lady?" And I said, "Oh, I have to tell you the good news," and I read it to them, and when I said Mr. Shear, they all chuckled, but then they realized how significant this was, and we waited around. There were a lot of legal papers that needed signed. We had to make sure we had someone to come on board and go for it, which John Morrow of Pleasant Trucking of Connellsville agreed for a truck and a driver.
Oh, wonderful.
Which was really fantastic that he stepped up and said, yes, I'd be honored to be part of this. We were honored to have him be part of it. And we were fortunate enough to have somebody else step up and say, okay, we'll help you get you there so you can actually witness, which we're going to do. We're going to go and witness by the generosity of Nelson Bus Lines, Randy Richter, and then, of course, All Crane Rental, Bobby Kelly from Connellsville, is going to provide equipment to lift the artifact once we get it back home here. to its storage facility until it's part of the renovations.
Okay. Now, how many people do you have going with you yet? Do you know?
There are 19 of us planning to go, so that's exciting.
And when you get there, you don't know what you're going to be getting, right? I talked to the Port Authority. He said just a piece.
It's listed, it's inventory I0029. The description is custom steel construction.
Oh.
All of these pieces that are archived are actually part of an ongoing legal case that the families who have lost in the fall of the attacks on the Twin Towers have a right, if they want to see, to make sure that you're not using this piece for your personal gain, to make sure that it's intact once it's delivered to you. They have a right to ask to see that piece, and within 10 days you have to show it to them. So we're not going to have a problem with that. We have a central storage facility where it will be located, and if it takes 6 months, hopefully not 6 years, but if it takes a few years, there will be a way for them to be able to see it should they call and request to do so. So we're excited. We know that it's 180 inches high, 66 inches wide, 8 inches thick, and weighs 8,370 pounds. That's all we know.
Wow. It could be anything.
So we're excited. Custom steel construction. Can't wait to see it and get it home.
Okay, wonderful. Well, we can't wait to see it and get it home too.
Great. Thank you.
I now have the pleasure of speaking with Colonel Rich, who's actually going to be going on the trip with us. And as a little bit of a side story, though, the Colonel and the Patriots Club go way back. You want to tell us a little bit about that, Maddie?
Yes. In 2003, I was deployed to Iraq, and I got into Iraq after the invasion. And about a month and a half after being there, my supply sergeant came in to me one day and said, "Sir, do you know a Linda Shear in the Connellsville area Patriots?" And I said, "No." He said, "Well, she obviously knows you. There are 90 boxes, 90 boxes of items here for you." And I thought he was kidding me. I said, "You're kidding me?" He said, "No, sir." He said, "I'm delivering them to you this afternoon." So once I got there, there was a letter attached. And I had received notification from my sister, who works for the district, Connellsville School District, saying there will be a Linda Shear contact you. Did not know who Linda Shear was. Had no idea what the
Never heard of her.
Never. Did not have any idea what the Connellsville area Patriots were. I do now. Linda's one of my heroes, and so are the Patriots. But I proceeded to open up the letter from Linda Shear and also one of the boxes, and I found out there were a variety of items in each box, but she had indicated that she wanted to do something for the soldiers, for the troops. And would I take the opportunity to ensure that the soldiers on the ground would receive these items.
Okay, so it was up to you to distribute them then.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. And at that point, I got with my command sergeant major and another officer, and I indicated that these boxes are for the soldiers. And at that point, I had soldiers sleeping outside. We had no running water, no toiletries. We did not have any of the creature comforts at home, and it was a way of saying, hey, somebody actually cares about us, and somebody knows that we are here. So the only instruction that I gave to my soldiers, the only instruction I gave to them was if there would be a letter or if there was a young student that was writing saying, hey, this is who I am, or an email address, of course we didn't have email at that point, that they would respond and say thank you for for thinking about us, and thank you for taking care of soldiers. And it kind of lifted the spirits. I know what it did for me. In one of the packages that evening I opened, and there were 3 of us having an MRE, and it's a meal ready to eat. And if you've never had one, it's not the most palatable item.
Is that the ones you add water to?
Yes, you do. You add water.
Freeze-dried. Okay,
all right. Freeze-dried.
Okay.
But in one of the packages, there were 4 Jell-O puddings. And I shared them with 3 fellow officers.
Like ambrosia.
Yes. And it was like I was like a kid in the candy store. I opened this up, and it was something just totally different. I was just eating it just squeezing it and eating it. I had chocolate all over my face, and it tasted like filet mignon. And
how wonderful!
It was excellent.
Something that little can make that big of a difference.
Truly, it makes a big difference. I tell folks, everybody worries about drinking cold water. Well, hot water will quench your thirst. Carpeting, we did not have carpeting. We did not have hot water, showers. But we had something that was from the United States, somebody from a true American hero and a citizen, and young children, young kids that wanted to know about us and say, hey, thank you for being there. And it was truly remarkable, and I was just uplifted because it picked up the morale of my soldiers. And then I'd learned about Linda Shear through my sister, telling me that she had been diagnosed with cancer about 6 months into my tour. And so I decided, well, you don't have to be on the battlefield to fight the battle. Linda was back here, and she was taking care of my soldiers. So I called Linda, and I said, Linda, my name is Greg Rich, and I want to thank you for taking care of me and my soldiers. And I can't wait to meet you, because she is she's remarkable, and she's my hero.
Now, how did you get to be part of this upcoming trip?
Well,
Did you invite yourself, or?
Anyway,
No.
I was asked, Linda. No, I did not. No. I don't have that kind of authority anymore. No, Linda asked me. She got in contact with me. I'm also on City Council, and Mayor Matthews indicated that the city and the Connellsville Area School District could possibly be receiving an artifact from the World Trade Center, and would I be available to go? And I said, absolutely. I think this is a very historic time for our city. I am, grateful to be asked to be part of it. I feel really good for Linda Shear and the Connellsville Patriots for what we're about to receive. And I tell folks, the first battle, it's a real tribute to this state and to our city. The first battle on the war on terrorism was fought in Pennsylvania over the skies of Somerset. Todd Beamer and his brave passengers when they directed the aircraft into the ground. So it's real fitting that we should be a recipient in the state of Pennsylvania, and I'm real pleased to be part of it. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, great. Well, so are we. Well, we'll see you in New York. Thank you, Maddie.
Can't wait. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm here now with Maddie Rich and Gary Barker, and they're going to be actually placing flags on the artifact. Do you want to explain that to us, what you're going to be doing and why?
Yes, Ms. Shear of the Connellsville Patriots asked us if we would honor the artifact by placing the American flag upon it. Actually, this has some symbolic significance because of the fact is I did serve in Iraq, and Linda Shear, as the leader of the Patriots, supported me and my soldiers in 2003, and we were quite appreciative of that. And in fact, the cords that I'm going to tie this down with were in Iraq with me, so we're going to use that and tie the flag down and just show our patriotism.
Wonderful. Gary, would you like to add some words?
It's just a very patriotic and historical moment for Connellsville, and I thank the Patriots for what they've done.
Okay, wonderful. I'm here now with Connellsville Superintendent David Goodwin, who's going to be talking with us about how he feels about bringing this home to Connellsville. Well, this is a big day, and we're here.
It is.
How does this make you feel to be having something this special, this unique, coming home to Connellsville?
I think that it's just such an honor to be able to have this as part of our new high school. I think it's going to be a fitting memorial to that day, and just a constant reminder that freedoms that we have are sorely bought, and they're paid for with a high price, and so it's quite an honor to have this in our district.
Now, what was your initial reaction whenever you were informed that you would be getting this? It's a treasure, this special treasure.
Well, I think the first reaction you have is what exactly are we going to do with it, and how are we going to display it in a way that's fitting, and it does it justice. And a lot of that was based upon uncertainty of not knowing what exactly it was going to look like, what the piece was going to look like. But I think that our architect has put together a plan, and it's going to be a fitting memorial, I believe.
Now, do you have any idea, any type of a ballpark idea when this actually will possibly be able to be displayed to the public?
I'm not sure about that. It's better for the architect to tell us how that's going to be phased in. But I'm sure since it's going to be in the building, it will occur at some point early on, because they're actually going to have to get that in the building.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we have a special, rather surprise guest with us on our show today. Introduce yourself to us.
My name is Mary Beth Bradley. I'm originally from Connellsville, Pennsylvania, and I'm now a New York City police officer.
And tell us about your affiliation with the Patriots Club.
I was one of the original members of the Patriots. We started off as a small group of people just hoping to send 50 boxes to the troops overseas, and it's grown into something so much more.
Isn't that amazing? Why now, as one of the founding members or first members, what made you decide to join the club or be part of it in the first place?
Like I said before, I think if Linda Shear wanted to command an army, she could. She's probably the most compassionate, persuasive person I've ever met, and she needed help with this organization, and I was more than willing.
Oh, great. So now you made a special trip here. Did she know you were coming today to be here?
We talked about it, and I said that I'd try and make it down here today, and here I am.
Oh, this is wonderful. I know she loves to see you. Now, how do you feel for her that she's able to take this artifact home? You know what it means to her. How do you feel about that?
This is a huge piece of history that's going back to Connellsville. And it's particularly special for me because it's my hometown and my new town coming together. And I'm incredibly moved that she would even attempt to bring this piece back to Connellsville.
And there it is. It's on its way. Now, are you planning on coming back and visiting it when it's up and displayed?
Well, I'll be back in May, and I try and get back to Connellsville at least 2 or 3 times a year. It's my hometown, after all.
And how do you like being here in New York City?
It's amazing. I mean, everything's here.
How long have you been a police officer here?
I've been a police officer for 3 years.
Now, I understand somebody had mentioned that whenever you went into training that they actually showed you the pictures of those officers that were lost at the beginning.
Before we even begin our training, we're introduced to the 23 members of the NYPD that lost their lives on September 11th. And we're made sure that we remember their names and we remember their stories because they gave the ultimate sacrifice to wear this badge.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for being part of our show.
Anytime.
Okay, we're here.
We are here.
How do you feel?
Overwhelmed. Completely and totally overwhelmed. We left bright and early, the sun shining. God gave us sun and no snow, and we have so much to be thankful for. To know that we're able to take a piece of this home to Connellsville, to a community that to me is the epitome of the spirit of America. Small towns have the biggest hearts, and believe me, our town's filled with heart.
Now, you told us earlier in the program everything that you had to go through to get to where you are now. So do you look at this as a beginning or an end?
It's just one more step on the journey, because I promised with the events of 9/11 and the challenge to my students that we were going to do as long as there was need until they're all home, as I always say. This is just one step on the journey because we still have deployed, we still have work, we still have soldiers falling each day, and we need to continue to pay tribute to them.
Is this a happy day?
It's bittersweet. It's bittersweet.
And where do we go from here? Now what?
We go home. We go to the next step. We make sure that the architects design what's fitting for that piece of steel. We make sure that it's erected. We make sure that everyone's welcome to see it. And we make sure that patriotism is never forgotten.
Now it looks a little bit different than you expected it to, doesn't it?
Well, initially when I started, I thought I was getting an I-beam, and lo and behold, it's something
unique.
It certainly is. We understand that it's one of a kind, which I think says a lot, because I think our community's one of a kind
And a
too.
one-of-a-kind group too,
Yes,
as well.
one of a kind group.
Oh.
It says a lot when youngsters step forward and do what's being done.
Well, thank you.
Thank
you, Linda.
you.
I'm sure I'm speaking for the whole community. Thank you for making this possible, and we're going to be unique in the area.
It's what we're all about. God bless our community, and especially our America.
Thank you.
honey.
Well, it's been a long journey and a long trip. And as Linda said earlier, it's been a bit of a bittersweet one. But it's loaded, it's ready, and it's coming home to Connellsville. Well, that's all for our show today. We hope you enjoyed it.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our little special presentation that Marilyn and I wanted to put together. Marilyn Forbes, as you know, is the host here for Around the Town, and I am Seth Prentice, the cameraman and director here for Around the Town. And September 11, 2001 is a day that will always live in our minds and our hearts and our memories. Is a day that we will never forget. And this show was also to present to you not only a great event that has happened here for the Connellsville Patriots Club, for Linda Shear, for the students and everyone involved, but it's also something that we also don't want people to forget the meaning of September 11th, and for those families and the men and women that we lost in that event, Marilyn. So I know it's something that it was something I will never forget, and I know for you as well.
I felt very privileged, very honored to be a part of it. It was exciting, it was solemn. There were many different emotions that all of us experienced that day. But as you said, we must always remember part of the mission is, a large part of the mission is the remembrance of those thousands of people that did perish in the World Trade Centers on that fateful morning.
And as you see right before this segment here, there were photos from the parade that many people in this area turned out, and it was a great day for all to not only just remember and to see what has come here to Connellsville, but there was also a lot of tears shed to remember that fateful morning of September 11, 2001. And without the opportunity given to us by some people, we would also like to share some thanks to as well.
Very heartfelt thanks.
Oh yes, a very large thanks. I didn't think storyboards or font would do the justice that needed to be said here today. And Linda Shear and the Patriots Club would be a definite thanks, first of all, for not only for the interview segments, but also for inviting the two of us to be able to capture this for all of you at home.
Allowing us to participate in the day and
Exactly.
in the time. We'd also like to thank Maddie Rich.
Yes. I'd also like to thank Mary Beth for allowing us to interview her, also in New York City.
That was a nice surprise.
And it was a very nice surprise, and also sharing with us her emotions. And as you saw on camera, she started to break down a little bit and get emotional about the brothers and sisters of the New York City Police Department that were lost that day. So, and also a few of the other members, of course, Nelson Bus Line, and we can't forget to thank Armstrong for that day as well.
Thank you, Armstrong.
As you know, not only do they provide us the ability to do this show, but also for the ability to go on this trip, as they help to provide some of the funds for the cost of going to New York City for that day. So, Marilyn, thank you as well for helping with the show. As once again, hopefully we've gotten the message out there to all of you, and hopefully you enjoy this presentation. And once again, this will always be a day to remember and to never forget.
Well, thank you, Seth, for letting me be a part of this, and thank you all for watching. We hope that you enjoyed this very, very special program, and we hope that you also all will have the opportunity to see this piece once it is displayed and open for the public to see.